The Chicago Bears finally got good injury news as Luther Burden has returned back to practice. Darnell Wright is back. Tyrique Stevenson is back. Tyson Bagent, for what it's worth, is back. Elijah Hicks is out there running with the one. So the Chicago Bears, after weeks of spiraling through injury news, got a number of positive injury news. So instead of who we got hurt today, we finally got who came back today, which is going to be a fun thing to actually talk about. And Luther Burden, that's a big one. I want to talk about why Luther Burden may be the key to truly unlocking the full potential of the Chicago Bears offense, right along with Colston Loveland. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, we're going to talk about Braxton Jones, the left tackle battle, and apparently Atlanta may be one of the teams interested in Gervon Dexter. We're going to talk about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, hey, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. About 45% of you guys that watch the channel every single day are not subscribed. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, and we only do that with your guys' help. So if you are not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and double check, hit that subscribe button, help the channel grow. In exchange for that, we'll be delivering the best Chicago Bears content, daily content that you're going to find all over the internet. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get into it. Luther Burden is back. And that's a really good thing because for once, the injury report gave the Chicago Bears something that we can actually look forward to. Luther Burden returned to practice. Darnell Wright also returned to practice. Tyrique Stevenson returned. All the players returned, and that's really good because this isn't a completely healthy roster yet, but it is a thing that is the trajectory is starting to change. Now, this is something that you guys know that I have been kind of talking about since, the last few injuries, that I think a lot of these guys are going to be ready and available by week one. The Chicago Bears are just being cautious with them, as they should, right? At this point, and Ben Johnson's kind of said it too. What are you really learning from these guys in preseason? You already know Darnell Wright is one of the best right tackles in the game of football. You already know that Luther Burden is about to have a breakout season. You already know Tyson Bagent is a solid backup quarterback, probably one of the best in the league. And Tyrique Stevenson, that's the one that you want to continue because of Tyrique Stevenson's physical play. You do want to make sure that he's fully healthy, right? So that's the thing that, he's going to play physical one way or another. So sometimes you have to protect players against themselves. So the fact that we got these guys, we're not completely healthy yet of a roster, and, that's not going to change for a while there. But we spent most of August watching guys leave practice, watching guys go down with injuries, and now we're finally starting to be able to watch those guys come back, which leads me to the next conversation. Luther Burden. Luther Burden, along with Colston Loveland, I think is one of the keys to truly unlocking the potential of this offense. Not saying it's all on those guys, and not to say that Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift, Common guy, all the other weapons are going to have a big part in this, right? But when you look at Luther Burden's skill set, him and Colston Loveland specifically, because of the way that they run routes, offers so much. Luther Burden, with his outside size, the way that he does catch contested passes, those type of things. Colston Loveland, right? The route running nightmare that he is at the tight end position. Cole Kmet, the versatile tight end that can block, that can pass, that can do all those type of things. You got DeAndre Swift, who's a weapon coming out the backfield. But when you look at Luther Burden and what he brings specifically, yards after the catch, amazing, right? That is such an important ability, in the game of football. His slot flexibility, his ability to be used in the slot, used on the outside. One of the things that people had a question about when he was drafted is is this guy going to be able to go to the outside? He proved that wrong right away, right? Yeah, he's going to be able to go to the outside, but he also can be in the slot. He can play in the quick game. He can play in motion, right? You can do those type of things. Also, you can use him in jet sweeps. Luther Burden is such a versatile weapon that when people talk about players that could break out this year, Luther Burden's naturally one of the first ones that come to mind because of his ability and what he does on the football field. So, this isn't just about, Luther Burden coming in and running routes. It's about how Ben Johnson is going to use that and what that also means for Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams needs somebody who can make those easy throws too. Luther Burden on those underneath routes, along with Colston Loveland, that's there. It gives Caleb Williams those easier throws. And again, we've talked about it. The thing that you wanted to see Caleb Williams do a little bit more is take the gimmies, take the underneaths, take the things that are going to do those type of things. And I think when you look at Luther Burden also, like he became and could continue to be the most important weapon for Caleb Williams. That's it. Like when you look at the chemistry that Luther and Caleb built in year one, that's there. And I'm not saying that he's necessarily the best player. I'm not saying that he's going to be the leading receiver as far as yards. He could be, but he could be the most important. And there's a difference in that because what Luther Burden does is he forces linebackers and nickel defenders to respect the motion, to respect the screens, to protect the cross routes in regards to those, the quick outs, right? The yards after the catch. Like it forces defenses to think. And we talked about the chess match that is football. You want to force your opponent to have to think, to have to wonder, all right, what are they going to do in this coverage? It looks like they can do this, but they also have the options to do this. When you have to play for optionality, that's why it's good to have weapons all over the field. It forces defenses to just think more and to second guess themselves. Also, Luther Burden helps everybody else. He helps Rome Odunze get those cleaner outside matchups because of the way the teams have to guard him. He makes sure that Colston Loveland is going to have linebackers isolated. And you put Colston Loveland isolated against a linebacker, I'm going to trust Colston Loveland in those situations more times than not. And then also the lighter boxes that DeAndre Swift then gets because of that. That's all there. Now, Luther missing as much time, the timing, the conditioning, you're worried about those type of things. And with it being a groin injury, we know that those things can linger on. That's why it is so important that the Bears allowed him time to just rest up, heal, and do those type of things. So, we'll see. Don't expect Luther Burden in week one to necessarily be midseason Luther Burden because of the injury. It's good to get him out there, but I do think this, well before, the end of September, Luther Burden's probably going to be in, the season doesn't even start to the middle of September. So it may take a couple weeks to get all that stuff back in, and it may not take as much time. Like, we don't know exactly to what extent he was able to do the workouts and things on the sideline. So, we'll see. But him and Caleb already had such a natural chemistry. There's no reason to believe that that's not going to continue for this team. So we'll see. The possibilities for this Bears team and this Bears offense are endless. And we just named all the reasons. I didn't even name all the players in there. I didn't even name like Kyle Benangai. If Sam Roush ends up turning into something for this Bears team as well in that 12 and 13 man personnel. So, there's a lot of optionality here. And, we'll talk about the left tackle position a little bit because that could be the thing that could hold this team back if you're looking at any one thing. But we'll talk about that here in a second. But I do want to flip that and look at the players that are on the roster bubble and where they currently stand. Players that we thought were on the roster bubble coming into the season and now heading into the final preseason game, what that means for them and which ones are still on the bubble. So Jack Sanborn initially came in, and we knew that Jack Sanborn wasn't assuming the role that he left the last time he was a Chicago Bear. He wasn't jumping right back into being a starter. With TJ Edwards, Keyshawn Elliott here, Devin Bush here, right? Those type of things. He wasn't necessarily jumping right back into it. But when you look at all the injuries of it, I don't think there's really any chance that we don't keep Jack Sanborn. It'd be different if like the rookie Keyshawn Elliott had an amazing preseason, but he's been hurt as well in that. Noah Sewell's been hurt. So I think that Jack Sanborn right now, that he's somebody that is going to have tons of opportunity because, let's keep in mind, like this was a staff that allowed him to walk away to Dallas last year, but now he's back. And the depth is going to be needed for that linebacker position. I like what Jack Sanborn brings, especially now because we have more, speed. And Ruben Hippolyte, who didn't necessarily follow up his first preseason game with a repeat performance in preseason game 2, but you may see him and Jack Sanborn and Ruben Hippolyte rotate some of those snaps as well, and we'll see what's going to happen in that one. A player that I talked a lot about that I think has tons of potential is Skylar Thomas. And Skylar Thomas, from what we're hearing right now, is still on the roster bubble. So it's not guaranteed that he's going to make the roster. He could end up on the practice squad. He could still make the roster, but when you look at it, he's far back on the depth chart. And as we're getting players back now, it's there. You have Xavier Woods. You have Cam Lewis also, who's been practicing with the ones. With Hicks also there. He's a depth piece with tons of experience, right? Thomas has looked good, and I want to be clear there. He has popped. I do think he's going to get a big look at the practice squad, which is perfectly fine for him, and he could eventually be called up on the roster. We'll see what happens, but I think Skylar Thomas is probably destined for that practice squad, and we'll see what happens there. Next guy, Savon Ahmed. Listen, with Kyle Monangai down and Savon Ahmed and Roschon Johnson entrenched in this running back 3 battle, Ben Johnson's already talked about like what he likes about Roschon. Hasn't said anything negative about Savon Ahmed either, but I do think this, when you look at the dual threat nature and keeping up what we've seen from like Kyle Monangai, DeAndre Swift, Savon Ahmed brings a lot of that. Now, Roschon brings a different physicality, a better blocker, right? And I think special teams abilities are going to really force what they end up deciding with this one. But Savannah Mead and how he's been used in the passing game, I think that he's like perfectly made for Ben Johnson's system in the way that Ben Johnson likes to call plays. So I think that Savannah Mead is still on the bubble, but I have him more on the inside of the bubble than outside of the bubble right now. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Next up, Marcus Davenport, the defensive end, the veteran defensive end that we signed. He's had a ramp up period, right, which is there. As far as like getting acclimated to what the Chicago Bears like to do. And so the question becomes about, has he caught up enough by the time that the regular season starts? Now, this is a guy that's played before under Dennis Allen, which is a big part of why he's there. So, we'll see. But I do think the Chicago Bears may have been a little bit more impressed by their edge rotation than what we initially thought. But injuries to that rotation may keep a guy like Davenport from making the final roster. But at this point in where you brought him in, you would think that it gives him a little bit of a leg up. So we'll see what's going to happen there. Kentavious Street is another guy. And listen, Kentavious Street is a guy that's been placed on the bubble mainly because Jordan Vandenberg looks far ahead of schedule. Neville Gallimore looks really good. Jaden Loving as well looks really good. And so I think it comes down to this. If it comes down between James Lynch and Kentavious Street, based off what they feel like they're going to do with Gervon Dexter, that's there. I think that Kentavious Street is more on the outside of the bubble right now. But they could very well keep that. But I just think with what we've heard about Jordan Vandenberg and the confidence that they have in that, as well as Jaden Loving, and them both being very young players with tremendous upside. You have your veteran in Neville Gallimore and Grady Jarrett already on this team. Kentavious Street could find. And that's not no slight to him. Like, he's been playing pretty well in the snaps. I just think those other guys may be ahead. I just don't see the Chicago Bears carrying. I really don't see them carrying more than 4 defensive tackles, but they may be forced to carry 5. So we'll see what happens there. Danny Manning, the guy who had some big plays, but also gave up 2 big touchdowns in the last game too. He had 3 pass breakups against the Bengals, which looked pretty damn good, right? But then you also look at the 2 touchdowns late that he gave up. He just got burnt in those touchdowns, and it just seemed like a awareness thing. Like, so it's like it was such a mixed bag of good and bad for Danny Manning that the injuries that we have to corner may get him on the roster. I want to be clear there, may very well get him on the roster. But if everybody was healthy, and if they know internally that Kyler Gordon's going to be healthy by whatever date they have set, Danny Manning may not make the roster. But we'll see what's going to happen in regards to that one. So I think it's a lot of what happens in this one. You have a number of players that are on that bubble, and we'll just see how it comes out of it. But let me know what you guys think on that down below. With that said, last topic before we get into the Gervon Dexter topic, the Bears left tackle depth. We have depth as far as bodies, but do we have certainty with the left tackle? That's the question here, right? And that's one of the biggest questions that the Bears don't really have a lot of time anymore to find the answer to. You're going to have to roll with your guys at this point, right? You can say that you have Braxton Jones, Jedrick Wills, Karan Amagaje, Theo Benedict, right? Ozzie Trapillo eventually coming back at some point this season. Those are a lot of names, and we got names. And Ozzie Trapillo, if fully healthy, he's a really good starting left tackle. No, like if Ozzie Trapillo was healthy, the left tackle position wouldn't even be a question. But unfortunately, he's not healthy, right? And so you have a lot of names there, and you have that. And I once called it a battle royale on what that's happening. But at the end of the day, how many of those names do you feel completely confident in? Because I tell you what, I don't feel confident in really any 100% confident. No, I have different varying degrees. Like Braxton and Theo Benedict, perfectly solid in the run game. They're going to give exactly what you need to see in the run game, right? Jedrick Wills is able to handle the bull rush. He's able to do that better, and he has tons of strength. Karan Amagaje is the young player that has seen some upside. He can swing, play left or the right tackle, right? But I think when you look at it, if you're looking at the Braxton Jones starting scenario, if Braxton Jones plays solid football, you're fine because he's going to be able to open those run lanes. He's going to be okay in the passing game some. It's just the bull rush that he's able to do, and sometimes the penalties and the awareness thing just gets him, right? But I think when you look at that, if Braxton Jones struggles, then what? You have Jedrick Wills. But then what if Wills isn't himself or isn't consistent? Then you have Karan. What if Karan isn't ready? You have Theo Benedict, right? If you could merge and do the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance with some of these guys, a lot of the questions would disappear. But unfortunately, with Ozzie Trapillo not healthy yet, it leaves a lot to be desired for this Bears team on what they're getting from the left tackle, because now you're talking about compromising the offense. If your left tackle position is the thing that holds this team back, it is extremely bad to be in that point. And again, maybe it's a little bit concerned that we shouldn't worry about. Maybe once the regular season starts, you're getting Joe Tooney, you're getting Jonah Jackson, you're getting Darnell Wright, you're getting Garrett Bradbury, that there's able to be such good play there, especially what you're able to use one of your tight ends for some support there, that you'll be able to get enough, maybe, right? But at the same time, I look at it and I say to myself, like, man, I just really don't want to see this Bears team held back by a left tackle position. And we have weapons all over that I talked about in the first segment. There are weapons all up and down this team on the offensive side of the ball. You got the quarterback that you believe in. You got the play caller and Ben Johnson. You got those type of things. But that left tackle just continues to be a sore spot for the team. Now, for what it's worth, like I told the person in the comment section the other day, it's not as simple as just going out and fixing all your issues. You're going to have some shortcomings on the team. Every team has their thing that's a shortcoming on both sides of the ball. And for the Bears on the offensive side of the ball, it is the left tackle position. But are we so good that we can overcome that? That's going to be the question there. And can we just hold it down until Ozzie Trapillo comes back? Can you do enough in the combinations that you're going to use there to get enough until Ozzie's back? And even when Ozzie does come back, like I said, he may come off the bench for a while. He may not go right back into the starting lineup and be in every snap left tackle right away. We don't know what's going to happen there. So, the left tackle is just something to watch, to monitor, not only in the game on Saturday, but also as the season starts off. How many plays, how many situations, how many drives are we looking at and we're saying, damn, if only the left tackle play was better on this drive? Because that's going to tell you a lot about how the confidence level should be in this team and in that position. So we'll see. But before we get out of here, we do got to talk about this. Now, this article did come over from Clutch Points in regards to talking about the Atlanta Hawks and a potential interest in Gervon Dexter. Now, one of the key things that they're pointing out to this is that Ian Cunningham is there in Atlanta. And the fact that he knows Gervon Dexter, he knows Ryan Poles, he knows how to, he knows the evaluation process, and he would know Gervon Dexter like somebody who's in the Chicago Bears building because he was in this building for so long, right? And so that's a level of awareness that other GMs aren't going to have. Now, I would also say that he can also know Gervon Dexter's shortcomings, which then could lead to them to not wanting to give up a lot for him. When you look at Atlanta's need, Atlanta needs defensive front help. That's what they need. And Gervon Dexter could potentially fit that. He's 24 years old. He's, starts 17 games, 6 sacks last year, a good interior pass rush that has some questions on the outside, right? So let's say that it is true. Let's say that we're going to take this article and that Atlanta is interested in Gervon Dexter. What should Chicago demand from Atlanta in a trade? Because I think this, right? I wouldn't trade Gervon Dexter if the value's not there. I'm not trading Gervon Dexter to just get rid of him. I'm trading him because not only does he may not fit, but also we can get some real assets back for him. And to me, you are starting the conversation off at a day 2 pick. That's it. You're a contending team. He's young. He's productive. Even though he's flawed in areas, he's a starter in this league. We're not having the conversation if it's not for a day 2 pick. You're going to have to talk me down from a day 2 pick if you want Gervon Dexter. And I think this, this is something that it addresses a need that Atlanta has. And then I say this, right? The other possibility is that, is it a player plus a pick? Does Atlanta have somebody on their roster that we look at that solves a need right now for the Chicago Bears that we can get in that? Now, I don't necessarily think that. And I think Atlanta also is trying to contend, so they're not going to be apt to give up a player or a starting caliber player they're trying to add to their team. So I know that people and Bears fans are going to have the conversation on Gervon, Max, let's send him out. Let's get Max Crosby. That may not be there. And I'm not even saying that that's necessarily a Madden level trade, but that optionality may just not be there for the Chicago Bears. So if I'm the Bears, I'm looking first at a day 2 pick. And then we can have the conversation based off that. If Atlanta does really want Gervon Dexter for what it's worth, and the Bears feel confident that, whether it's Jordan Vandenberg or anybody else, that they feel confident is going to be able to step into that role and deliver what we need, cool, great. I'm not mad at that part of it. But you better get the value back. Because Gervon Dexter, even with all his flaws, is not somebody you just trade cheaply. It's not. Because it is a move. Because Gervon Dexter's still developing. And if he does end up making that step that I want to see from him here and becoming a better run stopper as well, then you're going to look back on that and say, damn, we gave him up for way too less. Get that day 2 pick. If you're not offering a day 2 pick value, I don't know if I'm interested in doing business. We'll revisit it near the trade deadline. And we still don't even know if the Bears are actually, right now it's speculation. The Bears could not be shopping Gervon Dexter. We don't know that, right? They could be listening to calls, not necessarily shopping, which is a very different thing. They could be leaving their optionality open to say, hey, we want to give Gervon Dexter time to see if he makes a leap. If he does not do that this year, then maybe we do move him at the trade deadline. But you're leaving that optionality out there to make a long-term decision before you make a long-term decision. So, I don't think that that's a negative thing for the Bears to be in. You just got to see, even though the Bears are now shifting from rebuilding to contending, you still are always in development mode. You're still always in evaluation mode. You have to continually evaluate your roster every single year, every single day. Some people even say every single week. You have to reevaluate what you're seeing in practice, what you're seeing in games, all those type of things. And so in this evaluation period, if the Bears do determine that Gervon Dexter isn't part of their future, isn't part of their core, go out there and get that value. There's nothing wrong with that. And we'll see what the Bears do in that regard. But that's going to do it for today's episode, y'all. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys sound off in the comment section if you're on the YouTube side. I want to hear how you think about all of these. Who do you think's on the roster bubble? Who do you hope makes the roster? Who do you think has a long shot to make the final 53-man roster? Let me know that down below. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. You can follow us at Shy Bear Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.